Oh my goodness. The boss just screaming at you. I want a summary of this information. You have 5 minutes to put it together or you're fired. It happens. All right, so don't panic. Use pivot tables. I'm going to show you how to do this. It'll take you 5 minutes. You slam this in front of your boss. You go, here. And then you just wipe the sweat off of your brow going, man, I hope it works. Okay. So let me show you how to do this. Brad Williams, Excel Prime. How to spruce up a pivot table. Here is just a random table, and here's the pivot table. Very straightforward. We use this green filter up here. And I just want to show you the subtotal deal. It'll work a little better here. All we do is we go over to subtotals, show all subtotals at top of group, and here you have a subtotal. If you want to get rid of it, just hit do not show subtitles. If you want to show subtitles at bottom of group, this is kind of messy. You can see what it does. I don't like that format. I kind of like it this simple. This makes a lot of sense. Something else I want to point out. Here we have this state and gender and sales rep, and these are dynamic. In other words, all I have to do is hit F9 and we have update. Every time we do that, we refresh this. And sometimes we kind of get in a hurry and we're so used to just taking and grabbing an entire range. I showed you before, you can right click and refresh. If you happen to grab outside of the table and you try to find refresh, won't happen. You have to be within the table. If you have part of it highlighted, you can right click, we have refresh. We hit F9 again, watch the subtotals up here. You can hit refresh and it updates. In terms of copying, we can copy this information, but in order to do so, you have to grab all the data. What I mean by all the data, you have to grab this table and this table. If you're just working with this data source in the pivot table, my suggestion is just hit Control A. Make sure you're outside of the pivot table, hit Escape, hit Control A, and Control A captures the entire worksheet. If you have a strong enough computer, in other words, if you have enough RAM space, grabbing this entire worksheet is generally not a problem. If you have an older, slower computer, just grab select pieces. At a minimum, just grab this table and the pivot table, hit Control C, open up a new worksheet. Because we're grabbing the entire worksheet, make sure you go up to A1 and just hit Control V. If we update sheet 2, in other words, if we hit, well, I can't say that because this is active. Anytime I hit F9, it's activating this cell, the cells in both sheet 2 and sheet 4. That being so, we can go here, hit F9, hit refresh, and it has 24. Let's do this. I don't think we have a refresh all on here. We just have refresh. Go up here and hit refresh all. We have 24 here, and we have oddly 24 here. Let's hit F9, hit refresh. We have 23 here, and 23 here. This is copying. Well, let's just do this. I don't know. We may blow this thing up. Control. Let's do something else. Let's grab just the table, the pivot table, not the table, the pivot table. Hit Control C. And let's just open up a new worksheet. Control V. Here we have data, but there's no pivot table. You have the appearance of a pivot table, but you lose all the pivot table calculations and changes. Right click, and guess what? You can go back to sheet 4. You can copy the entire worksheet. This particular worksheet is still active. I'm not sure if it's tied to this worksheet table information or the other because we're getting the same numbers, and that's not right because, well, I'm going to do something here. Let's try this. Insert pivot table. Let's go existing worksheet. Go right here. Okay. We're going to go gender. And just as I had thought, if you copy, excuse the mess here, I'm trying to get a point across here. If you copy sheet 2, the entire document, entire worksheet over to sheet 4, the pivot table is going to copy over, but it's the numbers tied back to sheet 2. So if you want to do this and you want to create a new pivot table, get rid of this. You can use the same data over here, the same table data. And as you can see, 26 relates to sheet 2. Sheet 4 relates to this table. We can grab this, can delete. To delete a table, there's probably a lot of different ways to do this. I'll remove this count gender if you can. Then I'll disable this data. Sometimes you can or cannot disable this. Just grab the range and hit delete. And your pivot table is gone. Go over here. You have this new pivot table. Hit F9, hit F9, hit refresh, and it updates. Go back to sheet 2. See what happened there? If I screwed around with that copied pivot table, it comes back and it destroys the original. So just keep that in mind. When you're copying this stuff over, it copies over and affects the original. So now what we do is we'll just get rid of this whole thing. Go back, File, hit Insert, Pivot Table, from Table Source, Existing Worksheet, go to I, OK, go to Gender, Values, State, Rows, Sales Rep, Columns. We want gender. There we have this set up. See how long that took? What, 22 seconds? And then if you want to design it, go back, hit this green, and we have our subtotals. But if you hit F9, hit refresh, we have 22. Go to sheet 4, hit F9, hit F9. This is independent now. And hit refresh. That's 32. This is 22. Be sure to check out our extensive courses, which include Excel data and text manipulation for advanced users, beginners, intermediate. We also have this great essentials, the A to Z for advanced users, the comprehensive beginner level 1 and 2. Then we have our advanced formulas, strictly formulas, great set of courses, which we have a beginner level 1 and beginner level 2, this intermediate level, and we have this advanced level. Click on any of the links. There's a short video that explains everything about the course. Check it out. If you want to copy this over, I don't recommend it. You just saw how much of a pain in the butt it is. We can copy it over, but if we mess around, if we try to delete the copied pivot table, it'll delete the original. If you copy this on its own, it'll turn out here on sheet 5, and it's just a colored group of rows and columns. If there's a reason for you to copy it, then copy, but you know how messy it is trying to manipulate the pivot table. I just want to point out something else. If you're highlighted over, in this case, Florida, and you right click, you're going to see your options are a bit different. This is a group here. Click this, and under Florida, it'll bring Illinois. Under California, Florida, female. So we have the group, and it's female, male. And if you close it, it shows Illinois. And if you right click the group, it'll expand here and it'll say group or ungroup, field settings. What we want to do is manipulate the numbers. Well, you can't do that over here in Florida. So make sure if you're trying to summarize or show value as, you'll have to be in a countable or numeric situation. And here we have summarized by average. Let's say you want to try to summarize by average. Well, you hit average and you get, look what happens. I'll let you think about why that happens. We're trying to find an average. what are we doing? We're counting. In this layout, there's no way to come up with an average. And it'll throw this error. Don't worry, just go back, summarize by count. You want to go summarize by max or min? Well, look what we're doing. We just have individual situations here. We are limited as to what we can do. We either have male or female. We can't average male or female. So we can't get a min, we can't get a max. The only thing we can do with this layout is count. Remember I said experiment? Experiment with these different options. You can sort. You can go here in row labels, sort A to Z or Z to A. So we'll sort by state, Z to A. And you can see we're in descending order. And now we can change it back to A to Z and have California. Let's say we want to sort by gender. Hit OK. Well, we have female, male. And then the other option is state, gender, Z to A. So now we have male, female. Go back. It automatically defaults to state. Hit gender. Hit A to Z, female, male. Let's say you don't like this particular layout. How about just grab gender and put it in the column? And here we have a similar layout, but we have female, male, and grand total.
Brad Williams, XL Prime. Thanks for watching.